Well, it's a smoking hot day here in southern Idaho. It's 103 right now. And speaking of smoking, we got some stuff out on the Traeger smoking away, and we'll put some super thick center pork chops on in a bit and get those smoking. Meanwhile, I thought I'd give folks a little information underneath the fifth wheel. Just some basics on the suspension and the axles. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, just a couple of things I want to cover. I've been seeing a lot of pictures here lately on new fifth wheels. Some of them are Alpine, some of them Jayco, some of them Grand Design. And when you look at the springs, they are flat. And you do not want to see flat springs. If you look across, and it's probably about the best picture I can get. This is my rear axle we're looking at the passenger side, and you can see that there is a very good uniform arch, upward arch on the rear spring. And when we look forward, you can see the same thing on the front axle. And we'll do the same thing on the driver's side. That is the rear spring, and looking forward, get the angle right, you can see that all four of these springs have a definite upward arch. And just by eyeballing them, if you look at the bend, upward bend on each one of these, you can pretty much say that they're all uniform and even. So that's one thing you want to look at on your suspension is what do my springs look like? And if you see one that's flat or bowed downwards, you've got problems. If it's flat or bowed downwards, then either you are overloaded out of the gills with crap in your fifth wheel, or you've got a broken spring. And so you're going to have to investigate and see what the problem is. You got to fix it, and you got to fix it quick, or you're going to have problems on the road that you don't want, and you're going to have repair bills and delay time on the road that you don't want. So actually what I decided to do is put it the level across the bottom, and if you notice, you'll see a gap. If I can hold this level straight, you'll see a gap underneath here. And then when you look out towards this edge and you look out towards this edge, you see there's no gap. But when you look right in the center, you can see daylight through there. And what that means is the axle is bent upwards. And if I crawled up further, which I'm not going to do because it's getting a little warm outside, this forward axle also is bent upwards. That upward bend is super important, and it's called camber. And what happens is as you add more goodies and things and food and clothes and all the other stuff that you put in your Alpine, that weight is displaced across your suspension and across these axles, and that positive or upward bend in the axle gives it a positive camber. And as that weight pushes down, these axles flatten out, and it maintains and keeps the tread on your tires flat across the road. And we'll let you see these tires. Now these are brand new tires. They've only got 800 miles on them right now. They're Salem S637s. And you can look across here and you can see that there is absolutely no wear. If I had bad camber, in other words, if I look at these axles and they're absolutely flat or even bowed downwards, then that means that my axle has lost its camber. In other words, the pre-bend from the factory is gone. And what's going to happen is the first place you're going to notice is this inside rib it's going to start wearing considerably more than the rest of these ribs across your tire. And so you want to watch this inside rib when you stop for gas, or when you stop for the night and you set up and you get a cold beer or iced tea, whatever you drink. I like beer, but iced tea is good too. But you want to look at this inside rib, along with all the other things that you would look at on your tires and such. Lastly, you want to make sure that everything gets greased. And don't be stingy with the grease. And we'll zoom forward. I'm not going to crawl up there, but you can see that the center link bolts, the eye bolts, are well greased, and you can look all the way up front and see that that's greased, and you can look back here and see that this is greased. And we can do the same thing on this side, maybe, if I can hold the camera right. And there we go. You can tell that I greased the suspension. Yes, I wipe the old grease off before I put new on, but after 9 years of use, I'm still running the original wet bolts, the original bushings, all the original suspension parts, and so, you know, I'm a believer in grease. My 2007 pickup truck still has the original tie rods in it, the original ball joints, the original CV joints. And I attribute that to regular greasing and using good quality grease. And in my book, red and tacky grease beats anything else out on the market. I'll stand behind that all day long. So we'll wrap this up, and hopefully I can crawl out from underneath here without hitting the old man's head. And anyways, I just wanted to touch on these leaf springs and the suspension, keeping things greased, and these welds on these spring hangers, and the condition of your wet bolts and stuff. You know, if you take 10 minutes every time you finish towing to some new site and get set up, take a look-see underneath there. 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. Young guys can move quicker than me and got better eyes. You could probably do it in 5 minutes. But, you know, take a look-see at what you got, and then you'll know in advance before problems arise. And once again, if you look at these leaf springs and they aren't bowed upwards like mine are, and you can see that nice upward arch. If they're flattened out, you are either overloaded so grossly that it's pathetic, or you've got cracked springs. So you need to find out why if your springs don't look like mine. And remember, this is a 9-year-old Alpine with 40,000 miles on it. And yeah, we carry quite a bit of stuff, but it's only a 34-footer. So, you know, you folks out there with the big 40 and 41-footer Alpines with a little more weight, you've got the same springs as I do and the same axles. So keep your eyes on them, and wishing you all safe and happy travels. That's all from the Alpine guy out here in Idaho. We'll catch you later.